All tribute flows to the eternal throne. Chancellor Zhai Meng. The most populous nation on Efoqar, Shang-Jin, has vast resources to call upon. Once the jewel in the crown of the human domains, it was from here that the Illithids were pushed back in the wake of the cataclysm. As civilization began to recover, many kingdoms fought for dominance in the area. After several hundred years of warfare, the Shang warlord united most of the kingdoms under his rule into roughly the borders that are recognized today. Hyendu to the west, as well as the Shao kingdoms to the south, were not originally part of the unified nation of Shang-Jin, although traditionally the emperor does consider them to be the territory belonging to the eternal throne. Throughout history, parts of these kingdoms have been occupied by Shang-Jin, but has never lasted long and have long since developed independently. The borders of the ancient human domain to the east and south of Shang-Jin were made up by the Old Wall. The wall itself was larger than Hadrian's Wall in the real world, but smaller than the Great Wall of China, although its length was longer than the Great Wall. While the wall was defensible, including ditches in front of it and regularly spaced forts behind it, its true purpose was to keep the herds of the Dragon Empire out, since the dragons had no issue following the herds into human domains. The real defenses of the wall, however, were its towers, hundreds of feet high and bristling with ballista early in its construction, later to be replaced by gunpowder weaponry to fight flying enemies. In the millennia since the retreat of Dinesh, the entire defensive works have fallen into disuse and disrepair. Occasionally one will have been rebuilt, normally not to its former glory, or incorporated into modern buildings or defensive works, but mostly it is a tract of ruins stretching across the continent. While the narrative within the Shang-Jin ties closely with the Eternal Throne mythology, it should be noted that there have been several dynasties, and most of the country was conquered by the Oghai at one point. However, when forced to recognize these defeats, it is tied to the belief that the nation itself is eternal. The strength of the emperors waxes and wanes just like any other rule. The issue is that in Shang-Jin, the emperor is never seen by outsiders, so it is unknown if they are ruling or it is the court that is ruling. There have been many technological developments here, but due to the stratification of society, few find their way down to the lower classes. One of the most recent breakthroughs has been the rediscovery of black powder. This discovery has been seen as incredibly dangerous since it is viewed as a force multiplier that may lessen the advantage of numeric superiority that is currently enjoyed if the secret should ever get out. For this reason, there has been little effort to develop black powder further. Shang-Jin is one of only 3 nations to have developed flying ships since the post-cataclysm era. Before the Illithids made ships revealed themselves on the world stage with their attack on Valencia. Now any nation that can is trying to develop their own. Before this, Shang-Jin's airships were used by the emperor and other high officials for tours and parties and not for military use. As others develop their own airships, this is most likely to change.